Good evening, everybody. I am Paul Capera, Director of Parks and Recreation for Middletown Township. I want to thank you so much for coming out tonight to the presentation of the Environmentally Speaking series that is sponsored by our Environmental Advisory Council. Our EAC does a great job getting 3 or 4 of these high environmental level conversations together and assemble for the community, and I thank you so much for coming out tonight, okay? Tonight, we are very excited to have the Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority come and speak to us, okay? Before I announce them by name, I want a couple things. If you came here to complain about the $60 stormwater fee, that's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, so come right back here, okay? They didn't have anything to do with it, okay? So come back tomorrow night. The other thing is, if you're here for the Newtown wastewater treatment plant, they had nothing to do with it. Some of your questions are ancillary but can be answered. But I just want to know it's really not their lane. So if we could just avoid those 2 issues in depth. Okay, so I do want to present Erin Schulberger and Steve Hartman from Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to hand it over to Steve and Erin.
There we go. I've been with Carroll Engineering for about 25 years, professional engineer, and working with Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority for about 20 of those years. So very familiar with a lot of their projects going on. So I'm just going to start the slides here. I was asked to talk about a few topics here. Actually, the first one. First one is the Neshaminy Interceptor replacement project that Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority is undertaking. So the Interceptor is a large diameter pipeline that essentially runs parallel with the Neshaminy Creek from Newtown all the way down to about Route 13 in Bensalem. That is the Totem Road pump station. So that Interceptor is collecting sewage from all the municipalities along that path and conveying it to that pump station, which then goes on to the city of Philadelphia for treatment. So the replacement project, I have a map that I'll show you in a second, but the replacement project is not including a portion that was recently lined. We lined that to rehabilitate it without the need to excavate, so basically putting a new pipe inside an existing pipe. That was about 35,000 feet of lining that was done about 4 years ago. This would be picking up where that left off and replacing from that point all the way down to that Totem Road pump station. The current status of that planned Interceptor replacement project, the idea is that the pipeline's been installed probably in the 50s and 60s, 1950s and 1960s. So the idea is it's seen better days. This will completely rehabilitate it. And it is still required that all the municipalities reduce their peak flows to their limits that were agreed upon with DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, and with the city of Philadelphia, who receives the flow. So that is all still needed and underway by each of those municipalities. Just a little bit of below is a list of actions performed to date. They assembled and reviewed available documents, including historic plans, basically getting this project ready to go out to bid. The design engineers is not my firm, but is undertaking survey. The survey is just about complete, and they expect the spring of 2026 to be ready to actually bid this project out. They'll have to get all permitting. There will be a number of access agreements with property owners to, as you can imagine, getting back to the creek is going to be difficult in some places. When this interceptor was installed, everything was basically open fields. Now everything has been pretty much developed up. So they will be working with all the property owners, with DEP, and other agencies that would be giving permits out for that project. So that is the map of the Neshaminy Interceptor replacement project. I know it's tough to see on that. After we get through the slides, if anyone had specific questions, I can zoom in on that to show you where it is. Basically, the creek is meandering left and right down the area there. The yellow is the portion that was lined a few years ago, and the blue on the bottom half of that map is what is planned for replacement. So I could go back to that if anyone had any specific questions. I was also asked to talk about infiltration and inflow. Basically, this is the problem that all sanitary sewer systems are seeing. Just because the piping ages, nothing gets better with being underground with the water levels and such. So you have a number of ways groundwater and surface water from rain events can get into your sanitary sewer systems. This one here is showing just a diagram of, you have the sewer running parallel with the street, you have the lateral running up to the house, and there's just a number of ways. The roof drain connections, sometimes they are mistakenly connected to the sanitary sewer, which is not intended to be the case, so that should not be the case, but sometimes it is. Sump pump connections, again, they should discharge outside of the house or to a pre-approved storm system, not to the sanitary. Cracks, defects in the pipe, underground, at grade, they all can lead to this INI, as we call it, getting into the sanitary sewer system, which basically maxes out the capacity. It was never designed to take on flow from rainwater and groundwater. So these are just a couple examples. You have some sump pump connections leading to cleanouts that are going right to the laterals and then right into that sanitary sewer system, just coming from houses. Property owners with water problems, they do what they have to do to get the water out of the property. We just have to work with them to make sure it's going in the right way. These are cleanouts that most of you see in your front yards along the lateral, giving it access points for any kind of maintenance, such as if it needs to be snaked out or televised. And these defects will allow any surface water from runoff from rain events to get right into that sanitary sewer again. So, you know, we just ask all residents if you see these, that you have these, if a new cap, a new lid could be replaced, put on there, that would be a big help to the sanitary sewer system operators. And these would be slotted lids. Again, these are on cleanouts, so it's just taking off the runoff all in driveways and paved areas and sending it right into the sanitary sewer system. The photo on the right, you can see, is right at a downspout, so you know, heavy rain, that's going to be a lot of water going right into those pipes that aren't designed for that. So this is a map of the water system. So this is a separate topic, more so what Erin will be talking about. We just wanted to give you an idea. Again, I can increase the size of this if there's any questions, but this is all Middletown. The blue area is essentially the portion being supplied by water from Forest Park. So the water actually comes in from the left to this map, and then to the right of the map is Lower Bucks County Joint Municipal Authority. That is water coming from a pump station that serves that area. This is an estimate. The water can go both ways. Forest Park water can work its way all the way through Middletown system and vice versa with the other source, but this just gives you an idea of most of the water is coming from the Forest Park, which Bucks County Water and Sewer purchases from them. Okay, so that would end my presentation and start Erin's. I can go back after this with any questions and then zooming in on any maps for any purposes.
All right, good evening. My name's Erin. I've been with Bucks County Water and Sewer about 10 years now, but I've been doing water quality for the last 26 years. I do have a degree in biology, a degree in chemistry, but I've kind of led towards water since my start of my career in college. So I've been doing water quality quite a long time. The wastewater end of compliance is new for me in the last 10 years here at Bucks, but I've had a really good time learning it. But I was asked to talk to you about PFAS tonight. We've been dealing with PFAS quite a bit in the drinking water industry, probably since around 2016. It started coming to our attention that we had these compounds in the water. What happens with drinking water regulations is we are regulated ultimately by the Environmental Protection Agency. So they are our federal agency. They then send the information down to your local state agency. For us, that's the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. So that is who we answer to every day on your drinking water and your wastewater quality. Everything goes through them. The rules and regulations are made by them. We have to follow what they tell us. So every public drinking water utility you have in the state of Pennsylvania has the exact same set of rules. So we are not different than any other water utility you may find out in Pittsburgh. We're regulated the exact same. We have to produce the same sort of water quality. PFAS came about because they did what's called a unregulated contaminant monitoring rule. So this comes about every 7 years. The EPA puts out a list of compounds that they tell us, we want you to start looking at these. These could be of concern. So in the early 2000s, UCMR3 came about, and they had all of these compounds. There was perfluorinated compounds on this list. Water utilities started testing for them, and they're finding them. Not good. So they started making regulations. The problem when you do drinking water regulations is you have to go through testing. Our regulations are based off of a health advisory level. So they will look at the lifespan of an average human being 70 years and drinking 8 8-ounce glasses of water a day. So they're going to tell you your regulations have to be based off of that compliance. So our limits are set for that average. We don't have 70 years of data on PFAS. There has not been that many studies done. They just started finding them. To put regulations into place, we need to have ways to test for it. We need to have an advisory level, which they tell us we have to be under. None of that was really done, and the public started freaking out about these chemicals. Rightly so. They are cancer-causing. They are dangerous. We didn't put them there, but as water utilities, we usually end up taking the buck for a lot of different industries, because this is where you can get the most bang for your buck. We're going to make the water utilities clean up the industry rather than stopping the industries. It's been that way for a very long time. So we came about with these polyfluoroalkyl substances. We've been calling them PFAS since they came about in the industry here in the drinking water industry. They are man-made. They've been produced for decades. We've just recently started finding them. So people telling you, oh, they're new. They're not new. They've been around for a very long time. We're just now finding them because we have methods to test for them. They break down slowly in the environment due to their structure. They have very strong chemical bonds. So you can't just boil your water and say they're gone. It's not like you can put it through a carbon filter like you can for chlorine and remove it. They're there, and they're going to stay. They are very good at repelling oil, water. They reduce friction and heat, so they're pretty much going to be found anywhere. You'll find them in firefighting foam. That's the big thing here because of Willow Grove. You're going to hear about them in this area a lot. Areas where they don't have bases like that. They're talking about the microwave popcorn bags, your food wrappers, stain-resistant, the water repellent you put on your clothes. A lot of hunters, would put water repellent on their clothes. They're found everywhere. You can buy compounds. Your Teflon cookware, PFAS in them. When you go buy cookware now, you want to look and it say PFAS-free. Those are things you're going to start seeing now because these are known. So they persist in the environment. They're going to be with us forever. You will find them in water. You will find them in soil. You will find them in air. And you will find them in food. So the problem is you can consume them. This is where you're getting them in your water. They found now you can get them through inhalation. They're in the air, in the environment. You're breathing them in. The one way they have not proved yet, it's still early, is absorption. So right now they're telling you can shower in the water and you're okay. You just don't want to drink it. So they're linked to a variety of serious health effects, children, adults. The Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry has identified this list of health effects as potential outcomes. They're still adding to this list. This is not everything. In this area, you're going to hear a lot of people talking about different types of cancer. That's the big one near the Air Force Base. That's what they're doing. These are the bulk of the compounds that we test for in drinking water on the right. These are their structures. If you're not really big on chemistry, you probably won't get a lot of that, but they're long-chain compounds. They're at the point now where they're telling you there are 15,000 different PFAS compounds out in the environment. I've seen studies that say there's 17,000. They're constantly adding to them because they're testing for them now. To classify as a PFAS, you have to contain at least one fully fluorinated carbon atom. Basically, it's a carbon atom where all your hydrogen atoms were replaced by fluorine. So as soon as you see that fluorine, and if you take a look at those structures, those purple or the blue you see on the outside, those are fluorine atoms on the outside. This is why they're very resistant. They're completely surrounded by the fluorine atoms. So they've got this strong bond, which is why it's hard to break down. Very, very, very high heat has been what we hear is the best way. The most cited PFAS for us in the drinking water industry is the PFAS and the PFOA. These are the two that are becoming regulated and that we're seeing testing for. So we're going to talk about water quality. These are just a couple definitions you need to kind of understand so that when I start talking in my acronyms, you kind of have an idea what I'm talking about. A maximum contaminant level, MCL. These are the highest level of a contaminant that's allowed in the drinking water. So we have a set of about 120 different compounds that have MCLs for in the state of Pennsylvania by Pennsylvania DEP. They've given us all these compounds. So an MCL is the highest level you're allowed. You also have a MCLG, which is a maximum contaminant level goal. This is the goal you want to be at. This is where we'd really like to be. A lot of times there'll be 0. Sometimes it's really hard to achieve 0. It's hard for us in the industry to achieve 0 because you cannot test for 0. You can test for the limit of that machine you're putting the instrument on. You cannot tell me it's 0. So the goal is usually set a little bit lower. Sometimes it's not because you can't match that. The other unit you want to know is parts per trillion. These compounds are measured in parts per trillion. Very, very, very small amounts. It equals about 1 ounce in 7.5 billion, yeah. It's about 1 drop of water in 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. It's a little easier to see. So our regulations set by the EPA, April of 2024 was the first finalized primary drinking water regulation for 6 different PFAS. This was set by the EPA. According to EPA, we have until 2027 to complete initial monitoring. They've given us a long time. The problem was we had no methods to test for these compounds. When they first started coming out in 2016, we started testing for them. The limit that the machine could test for was about 14 parts per trillion. The new regulation they're looking at is 4. So they came out and said, you need to meet 4. We had no instruments to test down to that level. So that became a huge problem for us. You can see the list of the compounds that they're currently have a limit for are listed there. You can see some of them, the MCLG is lower than the MCL. But they're looking at 4 for PFAS and PFOA, and then 10 for some of the other compounds. They do have a hazard index set for a compound, some of the Gen X compounds. The EPA will regulate those. We have to abide by them, but there's no unit on them. It's a hazard index. It's a big math calculation. I plug it into an Excel spreadsheet because I don't get it. Pennsylvania DEP took EPA's regulations and started enacting them. Pennsylvania is actually one of the first states to start enacting an MCL. EPA pushed off their limits. They were supposed to be able to comply by this year. They pushed it off to 2027. Pennsylvania did not. So in 2023, they finalized an enforceable MCL. You notice they are higher than 4 because they came out when EPA was saying this is what the limit should be. EPA has since backtracked and made them 4, but that is not until 2027. So the problem we have here in Pennsylvania is EPA saying you have to meet a 4 by 2027, but Pennsylvania right now says, I cannot deliver you water that's over 14 or 18 because that's what they've said it has to be. So we have 2 different regulations coming into play sort of around the same time. So now when we're doing treatment and looking at numbers to get rid of these PFAS, we're looking at 4, even though that's not our current regulation. Wastewater, the other issue. There was not a testing method for PFAS in wastewater for the longest time. They just started coming out with one in the last, I think, year or 2. It's become approved. The permits that we have for our wastewater plants discharging water back into the environment, currently there are no regulations for PFAS. They are starting to put them on some of our permits now as a monitor and report. So they want us to start looking at them. They want us to test for them. Some of our new permits, I think, have quarterly results or quarterly monitoring on there. They want us to start collecting at least one sample every quarter to try to get some numbers. So yeah, they're going to regulate PFAS through drinking water. We'll have limits on wastewater, but it's going to be hard to remove it in wastewater. So, Middletown area, you guys are in what we classify our main lower south water system. We actually have 6 drinking water systems, bunch of different sources on each of them, so they are very different in how what we test for and how we produce water. Your main lower south water system is actually served by 3 separate interconnections. So we have 2 interconnections with Lower Bucks Joint Municipal Authority. One is at Woodburn Road and one is at Snowball Gate. Well, we don't have the map. The other one is over in the Feasterville-Trevose area with North Wales. So those 3 interconnections, we have been monitoring for PFAS. The other thing to note is we don't do treatment of the water in your system. So that water we purchase and we resell. We monitor, we do all the compliance monitoring, but we do not treat that water. So we're not adding chlorine, we're not doing anything else. So our thoughts are if these regulations become in effect, the water we receive should meet regulations because it's already been treated where we buy it from. But it is a possibility if these systems do not do anything for treatment and we need to have treatment, we're going to put it on. That's just the way we work. The other thing to note is compliance is based off a running annual average. So we are taking quarterly samples and running an average. That average is what has to meet the MCL, not an individual number. So here's your testing numbers. This is the interconnection with Lower Bucks at Woodburn Road. You can see the 3 quarters we have so far for 2025 have all been under the 4 parts per trillion limit. Your running annual average is 2. For the PFAS, the PFOA is 2.6. So we have no issues, as of now, meeting that 4 parts per trillion regulation when that comes out with EPA. All of the other PFAS compounds that we are testing for have been non-detect. So they have not been found in the water. The other interconnect with North Wales Water Authority, this is our largest producer. We're doing about 7 million gallons of water a day through this interconnection. We have a running annual average of PFOS for non-detect, has not been found. The PFOA is 2.09. The thing to note about the North Wales water source is they have a carbon filter in their treatment. Carbon has been known to remove PFAS. So I'm kind of thinking this is why we're seeing these really low numbers in that system. Everything else has been non-detect. Our third interconnect is the one with Lower Bucks at Snowball Gate. You can see this one, we did have a high quarter. It was over 4 for the last quarter. Running annual average is just over that 4 parts per trillion. For PFOS, the PFOA is just under. So this is something we're going to be keeping an eye on. As of right now, this meets drinking water regulations. It's 18 and 14. We're fine right now. 2027, this may become an issue at this place. So if you have an exceedance, you got to do something. So your option is to either remove or treat. So you can remove that source, get rid of it. The problem here is if you don't have other wells or another source, what are you going to do? You need water somewhere. So it's kind of hard sometimes to take a source offline. You can have interconnections. That's basically what this whole system is. It's an interconnection. Find someone close by that maybe can produce the water you need and purchase an interconnection. Hook up with them. At some point in the future, we may end up with regional water systems just because of all of these regulations coming out. Some of these smaller utilities cannot afford the new regulations and treatment and things like that. Or you can find a new source. A little difficult to do sometimes. The other option is treatment. You can treat these sources and get rid of the PFAS compounds. The 3 big ones right now that we're seeing that work, granular activated carbon, GAC. You can use an ion exchange or you can use high pressure membranes. There's pros and cons to some of these. Some of them are good for us. Some of them are good for you in a home on your own without us. We'll go over some of that. GAC, this kind of the one that most people are leaning towards, the carbon. It's widely used, it's cheaper, it's easier to put in. The problem with carbon that we have been looking at is if you're going to put a carbon filter in, you're now going to have to exchange that carbon. And it is bound with PFAS. What are you going to do with it? I'm not putting it back in the environment for the next person. And that's kind of our mentality with that. We do not want to put carbon in because you have to dispose of that carbon. You as a homeowner in your home can put carbon in, throw the carbon filter out, and that's fine. It's going to go to a landfill. Well, guess what? That PFAS is going to get right back into the ground now. You're not removing it. You're removing it from your water, but passing it along. So we have not really been going towards carbon at all. Plus, carbon has this cycle. As you use carbon and it starts to get used up, you'll see these bell curves. You're going to use that carbon. It's going to start to become used up. When you go to replace it now you drop back down, and you just have these lows and highs, and you're constantly fighting that. When do we need to exchange it? Every utility in the United States is starting to put carbon in. Are we going to have a shortage of carbon? These are all things that we look at as a water supplier because we have to look at that for the future. It is effective in breaking down long-chain PFAS. Don't get me wrong, it works great. I don't think it's going to be effective for us because of the disposal issues. We just don't want to put that back in the environment. Ion exchange, we do have a couple systems up in the New Hope Solberry area that have had some issues with PFAS. You may have seen them in the news. We've been dealing with this. We are currently putting in ion exchange in 2 of those systems. They are temporary systems until we can see what works best. But we are installing some ion exchange systems just to start removing that PFAS because we have some systems that do have numbers over the limit. The resin can clog if you have other issues. Sometimes manganese, other minerals may clog these filters. So you may have an additional filtration system you have to put on before it can go through the ion exchange. So it's not just a one cure-all. You have to look at your water quality source before you decide which sort of treatment you're putting on. High pressure membrane, this really is expensive because you're trying to force water through a membrane, and it takes a lot of energy. So these are really things we're not looking at high pressure membrane really at all. It's really slow too. So maybe some smaller systems could handle that. The system we have here in the Maine Lower South, where Middletown is, we do about 10 million gallons of water a day. That would take forever to push that through a membrane. So certain systems that we have that are smaller, Fox Run, we serve 31 homes. It's a very small system. We may be able to do membrane filtration there. But it's something, depending on what system we're putting in, is how we're going to look at that. All right, that's all I had. I don't know if you wanted to pull up maps or questions. Thank you. So I could drone forever.
Yeah, so what we'll do is if you could just field questions, repeat the question.
Repeat them.
So I don't have to run.
I'm hard of hearing. Yes.
Okay, I'm in the northern part of the township. I'm served by Newtown Water.
Yes.
Are you getting any information from Newtown Water based on this?
I am not, because we do not have an do we have any interconnection or information on Newtown Water? I do not personally. You are able to, is it not on? It's on. The other one? Oh, it is? I don't know. It says on. You are able to go to Newtown's, the website. All of the information I'm giving you on our PFAS numbers is public record. We have to publish our numbers to you. So everything, our PFAS numbers, we put out a consumer confidence report every year. The PFAS numbers are published in there. So I would assume, because Newtown follows the same regulations, they have to put their numbers out. I would assume either call the office and ask them for a copy of your annual water quality report, or it's called a CCR, a consumer confidence report. We're required by Pennsylvania DEP to put that out by July 1st in the customer's hands, every water use system in Pennsylvania. So ask them for a copy of your CCR or go on their website. They may have it posted. Yeah, most people don't read them, so. I hate going to the post office when I spend like hours putting a CCR together, and I go to the post office and the trash can is filled with them. Breaks my heart. Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask you about the water pressure.
Okay.
Back in 1998 when I moved up here from Philadelphia. Philadelphia had tremendous water pressure. Okay, like 4.9 with a water reducer valve, so that my appliances wouldn't get blown out. When I moved up here, it was 3.2. I called Bucks County Water and Sewer, and I said, what can we do about my water pressure? And they said, we're only required to give you 3.0. We're giving you 3.2. You have no legitimate complaint. I said, well, it's not enough. there was another piece of land here in Middletown. Oh, I'm sorry. There was another piece of ground here in Middletown that was targeted for that pumping station, and the owner of that ground did not want to sell it to Middletown for the pumping station. And at that point, it died. So I want to know why we're not getting a pumping station. Why can't we have a little more than 3.2? We were doing all of this building in Middletown, which is going to really affect that water pressure all the more. My concern is the water pressure. People getting up, they want to build another 290 apartments across the street. There's nowhere for that water pressure to go but down.
Well, it can't go down too much. They were correct in telling you we do have a limit on pressure that we have to produce.
Right.
It's between, I think, 65 PSI and like 110 or so. Don't quote me on the numbers. It's
Right.
somewhere in that vicinity.
Right.
There is a requirement on that.
Right.
And yeah, we can't blow out customers' homes down below.
But it's 3.2. Does anybody in here ever measure their water pressure? I have gauges. I watch mine
So
constantly.
3.2 PSI?
Yes. I will tell you that in 2008, I wanted an irrigation system. I could not get an irrigation system because I didn't have enough pressure in my home to push the heads out. I had to get a pump. The water reducer valve, when I bought it down in the city of Philadelphia, was $125. Granted, it was 50 years ago. But this new pump is $2,500. I'm okay. My water pressure is 4.9 because I have a pump. But if I unplug my pump, my pressure is 3.2. So, and it's the whole community. And I believe that most people don't even realize it because they've lived with it all their lives. When you come from 4.9 and you come in a house with 3.2, you notice it instantaneously. The first time you wash your hands, you see it. Before you even get in the shower to wash your hair in your new house, you know you got a problem. So I had that problem for 28 years. I resolved it for myself, but I still want to know, where is the pumping station? Whatever happened to the promise of a pumping station?
So actually, when Bucks County Water and Sewer switched over from purchasing water from Philly, which they did up till about 2012, I believe, they went to the North Wales Forest Park. It actually flows by gravity because that discharge is, and that tank is at a higher elevation. It actually flows by gravity through the entire system. So there's no pump station except that Woodburn Road pump station for the water coming from Lower Bucks County Joint Municipal Authority. So it actually flows by gravity now instead of, it used to get pumped up in series. There used to be a pump station that would pump it up so much from Philly, and then the next pump station would pump it from there up to the next gradient, and so on. Now it's all flowing down, which is actually, from an environmental standpoint, you're saving a lot of electricity and such, but there's really no pumping. It's the the elevation difference is providing the pressure.
Well, I'm at the top of the hill.
That's why it's low. You're close to the level of the water in the tank.
But there's a lot of people at the top of the hill. 3.2 is it. We keep building. I don't know that gravity is the answer. I think pumping station is the answer, and I don't understand if it was on the radar at one point. Why did it just go away? I wish somebody from the township was here. They might know the answer to that. I mean, the guy from Bucks County Water and Sewer told me, because I don't know that much about it. I only know PSI. I know what I've got and what I don't have. So when I called with the question, and he said about the pumping station, it made a whole lot of sense to me. So I'm going to have to live with 3.2 until they build the pumping station. Well, we're 28 years later, and there's still no pumping station. I know
it's once you're used to one thing and going to something else, you can notice that difference. Whereas someone who is only had that pressure might not notice it. You can give me your contact information and address. I can talk to the authority. I mean, Erin's with the authority, but she doesn't handle that aspect of what you're talking about, the operations aspect. I could run that past them and see what happened there.
Yeah. Well, my concern is if we keep building, what's going to happen? Is there going to be enough gravity since we're not going to get a pumping station?
Hookups if there's not enough. So when you hook up a new complex,
Yes.
like an industry or business comes in, they have to do fire flow test and make sure there's adequate pressure there for them to hook up, either hook up just their water system or sometimes a fire suppression system or they have to be looked at before it will be allowed to connect. So the building, you have a right to be concerned, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be looked at before it's put in to make sure the pressure is there. That's one of the things we do look at.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, this mic's working fine. Question, young lady?
Hi. I worked on PFAS when I worked for the New Jersey DEP. Actually, I started you heard about it in 2016. I started in 2004, so for better or worse, I spent a large percent of my life on it. I'm retired now, but I just wanted to add a little bit more. I'm a toxicologist, and I worked on the New Jersey standards, the MCLs. So can I just add a little bit more to a couple
Please,
things?
I am by no means an expert. I do the water quality.
Okay. So I was on the EPA SAB for the MCLs and all that, whatever. So, and actually my whole job was New Jersey does a lot of its own MCLs before PFAS. I've been doing it since 1986. You were probably like in kindergarten or third grade. Anyway, so like states do have to follow EPA's standards, but some states do their own MCLs, and for other chemicals that EPA doesn't have drinking water standards, or they can be stricter for the same chemical. And so Pennsylvania, New Jersey did do, and other states did their own PFAS standards before EPA did the ones that you mentioned. But Pennsylvania was one of those states, and at that time, to Pennsylvania DEP's credit, it wasn't clear even that EPA was going to go ahead and do the MCLs when Pennsylvania did. Those, I think, might have been the first of its own MCLs that Pennsylvania, drinking water standards, or MCLs for everyone, that Pennsylvania ever did. It wasn't that like they came down from EPA. So I want to give and then EPA followed several years later with the 4 last year or 2 years ago. Actually, at that time in 2016, EPA's health advisory was higher. It was 70, and
70,
many
yeah.
states, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and other states many states came out with low, Michigan, others came out with lower numbers. So that was something Pennsylvania did on its own, not because they were made, required to do it by the federal government. So Pennsylvania DEP was proactive. And, I'm a toxicologist. The other thing is they are supposed, 70 years is an assumption for a lifetime. That doesn't go into
Not anymore.
And it doesn't go into any calculation. It's just for water. Almost all drinking water standards, the health part, are based on animal studies. Very few are based on human studies. And it's like the animals, rodents, are given the chemical for their whole lifetime. So that's considered equivalent to 70 years or a lifetime. So it's not something, nobody studies people for 70 years to do for any chemical. That's not how it's done. The reason the EPA numbers are lower than the New Jersey and the Pennsylvania and all the other older numbers, the 4, it's partially because it's based on cancer, but also for all of the effects, it's based on human data that occur much shorter than 70 years, 70 years would be even worse, we'll say. And they're at much, much lower exposure levels than we saw effects in the animal study. So it's to say nobody studied it for 70 years and that means we really don't know, and someone's just saying this, there's no epidemiology study usually on people who are at the end of their life. That's not how it's done. So that's not unique about PFAS. And actually PFAS is ahead of most of the other chemicals because now we have a lot of
it.
Because what?
Everybody's looking at it now.
No, because as a toxicologist, ahead in my mind for the soundness of it, because 75 or 80 or 90% of the health numbers we have for contaminants are based on animal studies, and the new PFAS ones are based on actual human data, which we do not have for the vast majority of chemicals that we regulate. So it's sounder because it's based on effects observed in humans, not saying it's in rats and mice, and we're assuming that this will also be caused in humans. So it isn't like uncertain or something like that. It's based on measuring it in people's blood because it stays in people's blood. So for many chemicals, we can't do that because it's excreted really quick. Here we can measure it in people's blood and associate people's blood levels with health effects. And that's what the new EPA analysis is based on. So it's sound as far as health effects. Sorry to go on so long.
Now, we have more questions, so I'm going to go to this young man over here in a second. Aaron and Steve, there was a question. Will this PowerPoint be available to us so that everybody that registered, that I have an email I could share with, or is it anything proprietary or anything else like that?
No, I think everything up there's
So
public
we'll work it
record,
out
so.
over the week, and then for everybody that's registered, I'll be happy to email it to you.
Okay. Yeah, my questions, I'm primarily interested in the Neshaminy Interceptor and, you know, all the sewage from this whole area of Lower Bucks flows through it down to Philadelphia. And based on the work that you're doing, when do you anticipate that we'll be able to stop doing planning modules for every little minor subdivision that I do? And like every other little connection over 250 gallons a day?
So that's still a DEP call. So I really can't
Yeah. Well, the
estimate.
Neshaminy Interceptor's been under moratorium with this DEP since like 2012, like 15 years. Requesting Interceptor's been since like 2006.
Correct.
I'm just kind of curious as to, like I said, when can I stop doing planning modules for every one of my projects? I'm a civil engineer and I do a lot of design work.
Sure.
And, you know, it sounds like we're still years and years away. Is that the case?
Again, it's going to be a DEP decision. The interceptor replacement itself by itself is not going to solve DEP's issues with the interceptor. No matter how big you make that pipe, if the source, in this case the infiltration and inflow, is still coming into the system, all it is you're going to convey more stormwater when you should be, you know, as you know, conveying a majority sanitary sewer.
Right.
So all the contributing municipalities from Bensalem to Northampton to Newtown and everything in between still have to get their limits within the agreed upon peak limits.
Right. Well, it just seems to me that really this is a lot of work that's been going on with the Neshaminy Interceptor. I'm kind of, you know, glad to hear about it, but, you know, the issues with the inflow and infiltration have been around for 40, 50 years, and I'm just wondering, you know, why or why not has anything been done to address it with the municipalities? I know they pay through meters and stuff like that, but it doesn't seem like it's working.
So it's all ongoing. The individual municipalities have been told, and they are getting, if there are peak exceedances with the city of Philly, the peak fine or penalty gets assessed to all the municipalities. Their connections, the planning module being one of the factors that the tools that DEP uses. Even I understand, even for small projects, it doesn't make it very efficient for those small projects to go through the process
Right.
when they're really made for, you know, much larger projects. But all of those municipalities are working on those infiltration, inflow, and repairs and such. And Bucks County Water and Sewer sees the annual reports, and they confer with DEP on releasing more connections to those
Okay.
customers.
Yeah, well, I know they have a connection management plans for it, and, you know, it just seems like we got to get on a connection management plan, but it's just a time issue where it takes months and months to get a planning module through, but every job I've ever done, which is a lot of them, they always get approved. It's not like they get denied, it's just time, and time is money, so.
I understand, and you're not alone with that,
I know I'm not.
with that issue.
Thank you.
I have a bunch of questions over here. I want to try and take, just going to work from the front rows and go to the back.
Okay, thanks. Got it. Excuse me, so I have a question for you. This area that's in white, is that gravity fed or is that pumped?
So I don't highlight that because it's outside of it's the boroughs, Langhorne Manor Borough. I think you're looking at there, and Pendle and Langhorne above it.
They have their own water system?
Well, they purchase the water through the Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority.
All right, this area here, is this gravity fed?
Yes, that's all gravity fed.
Well, then why do we have a pump station here?
Good question. That's from when the water was purchased from Philadelphia, and it all had to be pumped up to that next.
So this pump,
That's still there, right? It's still sitting there. The building is there. The pumps are still inside. We collect samples from there once a month just to make sure water quality going through that portion of the system is okay. So the pump station is still physically there. Nothing is connected.
because we live right in here, and our water pressure stinks, and it's been low for years. That's not going to change, is it?
So,
When we moved in, we got fed from that pump. And our pressure was great.
I'm sure.
And then all of a sudden, our pressure died. I mean, it's just above a trickle. It's ridiculous.
And the water main in the street was replaced about 20 years ago, so it's not original, even though it's an old neighborhood.
So that is the effects of the gravity feed that basically flip-flopped how the system functioned.
Okay, so these pumps are dead. Okay,
Not even connected to the system.
thank you.
Yep, so they should be getting more pressure than
We're
we
not
are.
at the bottom of it,
No, we're not.
just because
Just
it
the
looks
pump
downhill
is.
on a map, it's not downhill.
They're right next, there's two tanks that sit there.
Okay. You guys have to share that mic. You two have to share that mic. Okay, I have another question coming back here.
Yes, thank you very much. Is it possible to get the north portion on the map? I noted that where we live is not being shown.
Just so everyone knows that blue versus green area is just an estimate. As I was saying, that's just to show you what percentage of water is coming from one source versus the other. But yeah, I can move that
Yeah, slide it
up to that area.
Yep. A little farther, please.
Further up.
You know, there you go. You got it there. Because that's a whole section that is going to have a lot of development in the next few years. And it's also one that we've been jousting with Newtown with over their supposed deal. And that's all I'm going to say, because I know we were said not to bring it up. Okay. So there it is. So that area, what is the source of water for the area at the very north? Yeah.
That's supplied by the North Wales Water Authority interconnection.
Okay. So I've heard talk about the Newtown Artesian. Here, so that's not true.
If it's our service territory, it is purchased from us through North Wales interconnection to feed that portion of the system.
Okay. But is the water coming from Newtown?
It's coming through the Forest Park Treatment Plant in Chalfont,
In Chalfont?
through the interconnection in Feasterville, and then through our system. We have one interconnection.
Chalfont to Feasterville, then up?
Correct.
Okay, I got it. Okay, a couple of other things. Anybody in the audience want to ask a question about that particularly?
Yeah. Where is the cut line between Bucks County Water and Sewer and Newtown Artesian? Where's the boundary?
Well, I don't know if it's shown there, but I believe.
Is that Bridgetown Pike?
See those? There's some non-shaded areas. Oh, there you go.
Hold the target button down as you're talking. You get a red circle.
Okay, nice.
So the non-shaded areas right there.
That's my understanding. That would most likely be served by the Newtown Artesian, who purchases the same water from Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority
Yeah, because I believe
for the majority. I don't know.
there's a couple sources.
They might have other sources too. Yes.
Because my understanding is through the years they had their own wells and stuff up there too.
Again, yeah, I would not know that
Right,
information.
but I was just wondering where the boundary was between Bucks County Water and Sewer and Newtown.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a physical boundary. It's just that obviously there's development in those non-shaded areas, so they'd be getting served by the adjacent system.
And on the other end, the sewer system from that area, the non-shaded area, is being dealt with by the Bucks County Water and Sewer system. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm just trying to think here, make sure. Yes, this entire that blue area would all be, and the non-shaded areas would all be flowing to the interceptor, the Neshaminy Interceptor.
Right. Now, my question about the interceptor is this. In the beginning, and please pardon my slowness in picking it up, but you had mentioned a lining project that was being done, and that was partially done, and you had said it was in green, or was it in blue? Is it possible to show that?
Yep, we can show that. It won't zoom. You won't zoom. So if you went to the Explorers, and let's see. Yeah. Go to what did I call it? Yeah, that's it. Neshaminy overall. Yes. Great. Thanks. That's probably okay right there for now. So, yeah, the yellow line there, that was all lined, rehabilitated with the lining.
Okay, so that was all done. Now, can you zoom in? Yeah, actually, if you go up to the north part, I think that's where we can see our boundary.
If you hold down the target button,
Okay.
So, talking about that's where the lining project began, right there. You want it a little higher than that?
Well, was there any lining beyond that? North
No,
of that?
there's pipelines higher than this, but they were not part of the lining project from a couple years ago.
Gotcha. So in talking the neighborhood, people wanted to know, is there going to be a replacement? And I heard replacement being talked about, not relining. So, and I think that gentleman over there was talking about the possibility of this extending for years and years and years. And then there's the concern about capacity of the Neshaminy Interceptor. Could you put to sleep some of the scuttlebutt that's been circulating around?
So
What's the capacity, and how can we know that there won't be a new rebuilding of the Neshaminy Interceptor?
So my company is not doing the first stage of this, but that is being designed, and that's actually Erin. If you could scroll down, that's the blue area that's picking up where the lining / yellow left off. So yeah, there it's starting right there, and heading down towards Ben Salem, and then to the Totem Road pump station.
What was that?
What
was the name of the pump station?
Totem Road pump
Totem?
station. Totem, T-O-T-E-M, yes.
Totem. Yes.
Right.
And that's that station right near the creek, right near Neshaminy Creek?
Near the creek.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. I don't know if we're all talking about the same thing where a 13 breaks right off to Haunted. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Okay, lay of the land is very important for people like myself anyway, seeing how things are laid out. So how long is the Neshaminy Interceptor going to remain or not not become obsolete, meaning not being able to handle its load. It's the load.
So it can handle its normal capacity. It's when the wet weather and those flows get into that pipeline, that's the whole
things
problem.
Really occurred, right?
That's the problem.
The split from the rainwater.
Right. So no matter how big we make this pipeline, that still has to go to that totem pump station, which can only, by contract, pump so much flow into Philly.
Thank you.
So if it goes over that, then Philly Water Authority Department is going to initiate penalties.
Thank you. Now I understand. Now I have a question about PFAS. So could you pass the mic? Thank you. Hello. My question about PFAS is, and it's going to come back to me, is that right now it's such a dilute, or it's such a minute amount. It's not part per million, but the testing is part per trillion, okay? And the tests that we have that have been, let's just say the classic testing, could never even see it. So we're talking about these new emerging threats that we're finding because our technology is getting so good. And with that, you had mentioned a second compound. It sounded like PFOS to me.
Yeah, so when we talk about the PFAS in drinking water, we're actually talking about PFOA and PFOS, the PFOA and the PFOS.
Okay.
We kind of group them together because they're the two that right now are regulated.
Okay, and they are regulated.
Yes.
Now, I've done a little reading, and there is this other one called 6-ppbq, which basically is something to do with tires and the the crust that comes off worn tires. When our tires wear down, it winds up in the watershed. And then if it winds up in the watershed, that also isn't a good thing. It's a carcinogen.
Correct.
And it's also been used in playground equipment, football, soccer fields, all sorts of things. And do you monitor for 6-pp?
There are currently no testing methods for drinking water or wastewater for that compound.
Because that's really scary, so there's no test.
They're all very scary in my mind, but yes.
Okay, and I have one more question. I'm sorry to take over so much time, and I'll pass this to you in a minute. Before you leave here, is it possible for you to tell us what kind of water purification systems you have at home?
I would love to tell you what I have in my home.
Well, would you?
I would, because I have absolutely nothing.
You have absolutely nothing?
I have absolutely nothing. Now, I will tell I do not live in this system, so
Yeah.
I
Well,
will
wait a
preface it
minute.
with that.
Now, wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. Yes. Well,
No,
that's
seriously,
good.
all kidding. I am not. If you take care of a water filtration system,
Like
please put one in.
Like a,
99% of the human population do not take care of their filtration systems, and they end up causing more of a problem than they
Right.
do. These people, Brita filters in the front of your refrigerator. That light comes on, people push the button and turn it off.
And never
that
change it.
light is there to tell you to change that filter.
That's right.
People don't change that. That is a
Gotcha.
carbon filter in there.
Gotcha.
I'm going to get on my soapbox. That is a carbon filter in
Right.
there, and that carbon gets used up because it's taking those compounds out. And it is dark in there, it is moist, and you have now removed the chlorine that is there to kill bacteria. You are creating a perfect breeding ground for bacteria to grow inside your filter.
That's good.
So it tells you 3 to 6 months, change it every 3 to 6 months when that light comes on.
Right.
If you're going to take care of it, put them in.
One last question about reverse osmosis filters. On your scale, how do you see them comparing to carbon filters?
They will remove more than a carbon filter.
They
So what I typically tell people, whether they're my customers or not, take a look at your water quality report. Anything we test for is put in that report. If there's something you're curious about, give us a call. I get calls all the time. What's the hardness of my water? I just bought a new dishwasher. We will tell you what we have if we have results for it. So look at your water quality report. If you're going to put a system in, don't go to Home Depot and get the free test kit. They aren't even sending your sample out. You want your water tested, send it to a state-certified drinking water laboratory. Because the guy at Home Depot is going to try, they tried to sell me a filter once. Best conversation I've ever had in my life. They hung up on me. But yeah, they don't send it to a state-certified drink. A lot of times they'll take a sample from the area and give you a lab report and say, here, we had your water tested. We want you to buy this $1,200 filter. They're trying to sell you something. Take a look at your water quality report.
Yes, very good. Thank you very much
Sure.
for your.
I just wanted to say about the 6P PDQ. As far as what it was at least first got attention, because it wasn't human health toxicology, it's ecological. Because out west, a lot of salmon were dying, and they traced it to that chemical. And now I think DRBC and maybe New Jersey DP, they're doing studies to see if it's toxic.
Yeah, they're finding it in a lot of fish now.
Right,
in
but
Delaware.
it's toxic to fish, especially salmon, and they're trying to find out about other species that live around here. But whether they must be studying the human health effects, because they do that for every new chemical. But to my knowledge, it's not really known, like it's more toxic to fish, and I didn't hear it was a carcinogen or anything like that. The big concern about its ecological effects on fish, to my knowledge.
And there is a new UCMR rule coming out, and there's more PFAS compounds on them. So there's going to be more we're going to be looking at in the next round of testing.
But that chemical's totally unrelated.
Well, yeah, because that's brand new. Yeah.
No, the one that was mentioned, the 6P, that's totally unrelated to PFAS. I just want
Okay.
it's not anything to do with PFAS. It's a different type of chemical. Okay. Just a second.
Hi, I'm John Mack, Newtown supervisor, and I had maybe you answered the question. The way I expressed it was through EDUs. And my understanding that there is no plan to increase the capacity of the Neshaminy Interceptor so that more EDUs become available, for example, for the many projects that are proposed for Newtown that require hundreds of EDUs.
So I'm not working on that design, but anytime you're going to design a project, they're going to look at all aspects. So I'm sure that is being evaluated. But at the same time, like I was saying, you can't make the pipe big enough to handle whatever you want it to handle without trying to eliminate the inflow and infiltration that's getting into that pipe too at the same time. You know, plugging it off at the source, so to speak. So I'm sure from both ends of that, that's how that design would proceed.
I'm going to add a little bit to that. I had the good pleasure with Ray of looking at flow rates down the sewer system. And when you look at it on days like the last few weeks where we've had no rain, you get a base flow. This is how much sewer goes in. We're going to have rain tonight. And when it rains, up to 75% of the water in the interceptor is rainwater, is infiltration. So only 25% is what we flush. 75% is rainwater. So what he's saying is that until we reduce that 75%, you can make the pipe as big as you want. DEP isn't going to let you send it down the river. It's that 75% that's screwing you on EDUs. But I do have a question. I'll see if I just figured I'd throw it in. On inflow and infiltration and budgeting, I've looked at 5 years of my water records, and I know you raised the rates for retail and wholesale customers. Retail here about 10%, January 2023. And I know some of that at least went toward your infrastructure projects, the replacement, and also I know you're doing telescoping, you're looking into pipes. How much bang for the buck did we get from that? That 10% increase that we paid, how much of that went to, I think it was about $60 million for the infrastructure? Or are there still lots more projects to go, the rates are going to go up? How much of that $60 million was paid by that 10%, roughly?
So I'm not going to have that answer for you. I really don't have all that information at all. Erin doesn't either. So we're not the best people to answer that kind of question.
Okay.
I know we've been talking to DEP about, EPA was enforcing all the sewers to be videotaped.
Right.
They are trying to move EPA into a little bit of a different direction, more bang for the buck, so to speak, where you can't plan your televising all while it's raining. No contractor is going to sign up for that. It would take 30 years to complete all these miles of pipe. So if you run a camera through when it's dry out, you're really not going to see most of the defects that might be there when it's raining. So flow metering is what Bucks County Water and Sewer is trying to have the EPA focus on a lot going forward.
But do you have no idea when our rates are likely to go up next based on some of these projects?
No, I do not have that answer at all.
Looks like I'll be going to your next meeting.
It's probably only going to go down from here. Are there any other questions? Yes. Hold on. Let you guys get a sip of water.
What % of your water is from Forest Park? I've always considered Forest Park one of the finest treatment facilities in the country, and why aren't you buying more from them? Why get it from Lower Bucks?
1 second. Tell them your day job before you retired.
I was on the board of North Wales Water Authority.
He used that clearly the finest. He knows.
So percentage-wise in this system, well, I think on average about, Erin, I think you said 7 million gallons a day?
About 7 million gallons of water a day from the North Wales interconnection and about 1 from Lower Bucks. In the summer months, we cannot feed that portion of the system near the Oxford Valley Mall with just North Wales water without building a pump station. And the last time we looked at it, it was $11 million.
What's the percentage?
The percentage
7 to 1.
of through their system.
What is the percentage of the total versus how much you're getting from Forest Park?
Well, does the one carry through all year, or is that just for peak summertime?
We try to take as little as we can from Lower Bucks. So yeah, in the summer months it's usually a little higher. In the winter we try to back off because we don't need them in the winter. But our contract with them states that we have to pull 1 million gallons of water a day on average over a 30-day period. So I have to pull 30 million gallons of water from them a month.
And what's the percentage from Forest Park?
As much as we need to supplement the rest of the system. We're averaging right now between 7 and 7.5 million a day, whereas Lower Bucks is 1.
So that's 7.
I don't do math. I'm science.
Oh.
Sorry.
You have an engineer there.
7, 1.
So you have 7 to 7.5 million gallons you get from Forest Park. What do we use in the system?
Oh, so our unaccounted for water.
Oh, I did not.
It's like 15%.
Okay, thank you.
Here we go. We're coming up front.
Thank you. Erin, a question for you. A bit of sort of crystal balling in terms, I understand that PFAS regulation, relatively speaking, in its infancy, only a couple few years of standards being in place. Sort of looking out in the future, I'm sure the authority does economic forecasting. The state association, national association is looking at economic forecasting. Speak in just general terms about how concerned the authority is for what the cost is going to be down the road to deal with PFAS. Significant, marginal?
It's going to be a cost. When we originally looked at carbon, just the tank alone at one of our smallest systems was $1 million.
Yeah.
And that was just to put in the stainless steel tank
Right.
without GAC media. We are looking at some emerging technologies to sort of remove PFAS. I've signed a non-disclosure, so I cannot discuss a lot of that. But there are some newer technologies. People are starting to realize this isn't going away. It's going to be a great moneymaker. So we're looking at things other than the carbon and the ion exchange and things like that. The problem is if it is not an approved method in the state of Pennsylvania, I can't just go put something in that I say is going to work. It needs to be a proven method and approved by DEP for us to put it in. So we've submitted an application for a pilot study to study one of these newer technologies with our water. we've submitted the application already. DEP is reviewing it at this point. So we are looking at other things. It's going to be more environmentally friendly. There is no waste stream. There's nothing to dispose of. It's this new technology that breaks those bonds in PFAS and they disappear. It boggles my mind.
Wow.
But yeah, it's kind of cool to see.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Yes, hold on.
Thank you. And I'm not sure, Erin, if you were referring to Gary's question was referring to water or wastewater in the future. What are your projections for the government putting regulations for PFAS into wastewater and sewer plant management, and what cost that might entail? That may be a particular concern for some people here and some things we've just been managing.
I think it's going to come. There's definitely going to be some sort of regulation where we can't discharge a certain limit. It's going to end up probably being carbon. With wastewater, you have other things in the water. So it's hard to put treatment in something that's already has a lot of solids in it. There are methods that are approved by EPA for testing for PFAS in wastewater. We do currently, one of our new permit renewals does, like I said, it does have a test and monitor and report. At some point when they come out with regulations, we may have to figure out some sort of treatment. It'll probably be a little more expensive is my thinking, because you can't really filter wastewater.
Right, okay. Thank you.
General question, that annual report that you send out about what time of year that most of the folks throw it away, when does it come out?
They are due in customers' hands by July 1st of every year. So they're all posted on our website. So if you want to look at yours, they are all there. I think back to 2006 might even be up there. So I work very hard on them. Please look at them.
Very good. One in the back.
Just a general question about the Neshaminy Interceptor report that's done, I guess, annually. Are you looking at the flow data that Peter had mentioned over time to determine whether or not the municipalities are meeting their goals, and what the II peaks look like over time, like year on year on year, to see if the lining project has worked to your favor and the replacement is going to do the same?
Yes, so the Chapter 94 reports that are due every March and the March to DEP. So the authority does take that opportunity to look specifically at all the individual customers, because they all have permanent flow meters on every connection into the interceptor pipeline. So they are looking at that, and then as those customers, so-and-so municipality wants a project released from their connection management plan, that's another opportunity where we look at that information. So we suggest to all those municipalities to have on record a recent, what we call corrective action plan, that shows because I don't know, if I'm reviewing it for the authority, I don't know so-and-so's municipality like I do the authority, like Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority system. So they have to explain that to us in the report and show their results going forward.
Just as a follow-up, if you have a metered connection, then you have the data. So you can look at what a given municipality is discharging to the interceptor over time. And reduction in I&I should translate into EDUs for whatever the township needs are. So that should be an incentive for every township. More I&I control translates to more EDUs.
Correct, yes. And the authority does share those flow meter data, even though it's used for billing. They share all that information with those respective municipalities. And we just have to be careful about what time frame we're looking at. So we had historic dry weather through the second half of 2024. So everyone's flows drastically dropped throughout the year, and it made everything look great. But then we come around to another wet season, and now everything's back up to where it was. That's where we have to watch out We can't just release EDUs just because of a weather pattern, so to speak. It has to be something repeatable.
Two things. Could you tell what an EDU is, long version, please?
So EDU, equivalent dwelling unit, is essentially one household. So every sewer system might have a different definition of how much that is. Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority uses 250 gallons per day per house. And that equates, we use that in basically to put everything into that perspective when talking about future flows.
Very good. So it's approaching the 8 o'clock hour, folks, so I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. As a resident of Middletown, I appreciate how engaged and how informed you guys came tonight. So from my heart, thank you very much for coming out. To Erin and to Stephen, I appreciate so much that you came out tonight to share with our community all this great information. So thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for Stephen and Erin.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right. Good night, folks. And don't forget, Big Ass Beer Garden on Saturday, September 27th.